A 17-word note worth $1.5 million. Who was its author, and what did the message say? Which letter in 1939 changed the course of world history? The Royal Academy of Sciences at yesterday's meeting has decided to award you the prize in physics. Albert Einstein received this telegram from the Nobel Committee in November 1922. At the time, the scientist was in Japan giving a series of lectures. Anyone else in his place would have dropped everything and rushed to the awards ceremony in Stockholm. But Einstein did not. The German ambassador to Sweden accepted the prize on his behalf. He felt he should stay and complete his scientific lecture tour, because for him, interacting with people was more important than receiving the coveted prize. During that memorable trip, Einstein and his wife stayed at the Imperial Hotel in Tokyo. A couple of pieces of the hotel's stationery would soon become incredibly valuable. One day, a courier knocked on the scientist's door, bringing the distinguished guest fresh mail and newspapers. Einstein had no small change for a tip, but he very much wanted to thank the young man. So the physicist took 2 sheets of paper, the first he could find, and wrote 2 notes. On the first sheet, Einstein wrote a simple phrase, "Where there's a will, there's a way." The second message was much longer. A calm and modest life brings more happiness than the pursuit of success combined with constant restlessness. Albert Einstein handed both notes to the young courier with the words, "Someday these will be worth much more than the most generous of tips." The creator of the theory of relativity was right. In 2017, an Israeli auction house put both messages up for sale. For the short note with the aphorism about the importance of willpower, a buyer paid $240,000. The longer message, now known as the letter on happiness, went under the hammer for $1.5 million. Initially, the person who brought the notes to auction wished to remain anonymous. Later, however, it was revealed that he was the brother of the very same messenger who had met Einstein. He had hoped to get $6,000 to $7,000 for the notes, but instead, he became a millionaire. Even the auction organizers themselves didn't expect the documents to be valued so highly. In their sales history, it was a first. But as it turned out, collectors are willing to pay even more substantial sums for the famous scientist's messages. A year after the Israeli auction, another letter from Albert Einstein was put up for sale at an auction in New York. This lot was purchased for $3 million. The message was addressed to the German Jewish philosopher Erich Gutkind. It was written in German and dated January 3, 1954. It contained handwritten corrections and notes by Einstein himself. The letter was written on 2 sheets of paper measuring 250 by 280 millimeters. Einstein wrote to Gutkind a year before his death under the impression of the philosopher's new book, in which he discussed biblical questions. The text of the letter turned out to be very sincere and emotional. Albert Einstein's biographers believe that this letter very precisely formulates the famous theoretical physicist's religious views. "The word God for me is nothing more than the expression and product of human weaknesses, the Bible a collection of honorable but still primitive legends. No interpretation, no matter how subtle, can, for me, change this." Over the years, dozens of handwritten documents by the brilliant theoretical physicist have been sold at European auctions. Scraps of paper with formulas and calculations, messages to friends and acquaintances, and simple thoughts jotted down on notepad pages about politics, science, and philosophy. Once even a note about a girl who refused to go on a date with the future Nobel laureate went up for auction. But this year is possibly the most important letter of Einstein's life will be auctioned. In it, the scientist warned U.S. President Roosevelt about the danger of atomic weapons. An émigré physicist from Hungary, Leo Szilard, learned about the discovery of a nuclear chain reaction in uranium in early 1939. He immediately realized how effectively the Nazis could apply this discovery for military purposes. To lend more authority to his information when he approached the US government, he decided to involve Einstein. Leo Szilard met with Einstein, who agreed with his conclusions and quickly drafted a letter to the US president. This new phenomenon would also lead to the construction of extremely powerful bombs of a new type. A single bomb of this type, carried by boat and exploded in a port, might very well destroy the whole port, together with some of the surrounding territory. The letter stated, among other things. The Nobel laureate also reported that the Nazis had already begun work on creating a nuclear weapon. The letter from Einstein to Roosevelt was passed through the hands of Einstein's friend, a famous banker of the time, who, it seems, made no special effort to deliver it promptly. The letter remained with Alexander Sachs for 2 months. The American president received the letter addressed to him in October 1939, a month after the start of World War II. Franklin Delano Roosevelt carefully reviewed the text and drew his conclusions. He instructed the director of the National Bureau of Standards, Lyman Briggs, to organize the Uranium Committee and to investigate the hypothesis of Einstein and his colleagues. A month later, American physicists reported back. The authors of the letter were absolutely right. The atomic weapon, if created, would possess unprecedented power. In his reply, Roosevelt thanked Einstein for the information and announced the start of the Manhattan Project to develop an American nuclear bomb. In fact, he later regretted that Roosevelt had received his letter. A cherished idea for any scientist, especially Einstein, is that armaments and physics in the service of the state should not cause harm. But here, things turned out completely differently. As a result, Einstein found himself in a state of deep disappointment, especially after learning about the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. As it was later revealed, Albert Einstein had prepared 2 letters for Roosevelt, one shorter, the other more detailed. The head of state ultimately received the second version, which is now preserved in the presidential library. The abbreviated letter, however, remained among Einstein's papers, and several decades after his death, ended up in the private collection of entrepreneur Paul Allen. It is this message that will soon be put up for auction.